Come on, cunt! Get your fucking head up, man! Eh?
What's it like, menu?
Eh?
Bit hectic.
Fuck off, bitch!
Dangerfield, Dangerfield.
All right there. My computer fan is going like the clappers. It's hot here and I've been on it all day, and so it's just going. If I stop talking, that's measuring 45 of some things. It's high. It's about halfway up the sort of, measurement thing. So I was looking on the internet for a film to download. And I don't know, you know what happens, you get caught up and you go and see one, it reminds you of something else, and before you know it, you're nowhere near the 1970s heist movie you were considering, and it's some weird biopic of a bloke in Uganda with one leg. The internet. So much effort and money and research goes into getting your attention that almost any internet page is a relentless battle for your attention. You're engaged in so many competitions you don't even know you're having. Your unconscious has got like rows of troops, like fucking bowmen over the top, catapults at the back, just fighting off endless battles for your attention. It's crazy how it happens. So anyway, there I was, fucking no-handed bricklayer biopic. And I found this thing about Jim Carrey, the man who's made an entire movie career out of pulling the same stupid and unfunny faces. Dumb and Dumber, exempt. But the rest of his nonsense. And it said, Jim Carrey is back and he should get an award for this performance. And I watched a little clip they had. So, as far as I can gather, some kind of post-apocalyptic sort of Mad Max kind of thing, but without all the good stuff, just the desert and no talking. And it was this really protracted silent scene, and he's like this sort of, what would you call him, like a steampunk hobo. What a clash of cultures. He's got sort of like the obligatory sort of welder's goggles that I think everyone in the post-apocalyptic future wears, probably to protect them from ozone. Sort of rags, all that. He's got a funny walk, and he's got proper stuck out chin, and his teeth, they've done a makeup job on him. And I was watching it, and it was a bit crap. It was a bit crap. And what made it particularly crap is you could so see that the director of photography was a student, but the director's intentions were telegraphed. It stank of what it was trying to be. Rather than putting a story together, he was like demonstrating it aggressively. And I got thinking about those kind of hobo characters, and sort of tramps, homeless people when actors play them, and how they're such caricatures. It's awful. I think the only time that anyone's ever pulled it off, well, that I know of, fucking brilliant movie, Mike Leigh, Naked. It's up there for me with Apocalypse Now. I've said this before, I don't like having favourites, because if you've got a load of favourites, you're not doing much changing. And as you get older, you need to be changing. And if you've got favourites, the more favourites you've got is a measure of how little you've changed. Think about it. But Apocalypse Now was maintained itself at the top of my movie tree. But Naked, Mike Leigh's Naked, couldn't be, in many ways, couldn't be more dissimilar. Like a Vietnam movie based on an old novel of a man being consumed by the jungle, psychologically and physically, compared with, and very high production values, compared with a Mike Leigh almost all improvised script, sort of set in grotty Soho. Film about homeless people and a film about people being crap and brutal. And there you go, suddenly they come together. Suddenly they're all just fighting. They're all fighting. They're all losing battles. No surprise that the internet can mimic that. Well, there's another battle going on. But I thought about that Naked. David Thewlis plays the main character. And he's like this sort of mentally ill but exceptionally bright homeless bloke. Which in its way is a bit crude, because not many of the homeless people I've known, and I've known loads because I've had to resort to seeing them to score sometimes. If your regular dealer goes down or the dark net goes down, you've got to get down Berwick Street, boy, shivering. Oh, what a life. Horrible as well, because, anyway, not many of them are that bright. Most of them are a bit stupid. And they've fallen through every single crack in society's safety nets. Most of them don't want housing. They don't want it. They can't handle it. They don't want all that filling in forms, giving documents in, turning up places regularly. That's their problem. They want no structure. All of them drug addicts. All right, maybe 2 in 100 aren't. But anyway, the whole thing reminded me, all of that, it was a long old journey, but all of that reminded me of when there was a Tom Hardy movie, and I think it was it wasn't straight to telly, it was made for telly. I think it was. And it was one of Tom Hardy's early films, and it's called something like Stuart, A Life Backwards. I think that's the exact title. And he plays a part of this character, and Cumberbatch Benedict, or whatever his name is, he's in it, and he's kind of like the well-to-do posh boy who's fascinated by this strange homeless moron. And they sort of get on, and Tom Hardy, who I absolutely rate as an actor, I think he's brilliant. He's done so many good jobs in so many movies. Mad Max, of course. What a performance. Had about 5 words. Absolutely engaging character. And then what's the one where he drives a car from London back to Wales or to Birmingham, and someone's died, and brilliant in that as well. Anyway, Tom Hardy, I like him. I don't like him because he did give my Vietnamese girlfriend a hug when we were leaving a club once. Didn't like that so much. And she'd bring it up in conversation, and because I never admitted to not liking it, because I didn't want to give it more power than it clearly already had, hurting me again. We'd be chatting, and it'd be some of my mates, and Tom Hardy would come up. And she'd go, oh, he gave me a cuddle once when we were leaving a club in Soho. And I'd be like, because on a one-to-one, me and Tom Hardy sitting down, conversation, put 2 hot birds there, I'll hold my own, the mouth will do its work. That's my strong point. I've grown out of my looks. But sitting there, just sort of too high with my mates, now competing with their memories of Tom Hardy, which are always better. They've got like these movies of him going on in his head, and I'm failing, I'm losing. Shush, don't mention it. But I like him apart from that. But in that film, Stuart, A Life Backwards, I'll tell you what, actually, that was based on a novel. That was based on a novel by Martina Cole. You might know Martina Cole, the English people will. She writes crime fiction. and has done for years. Fucking made millions. I know her. I know Martina. Me and her sat down Jerry's once, singing Rod Stewart. Wake up, Maggie, I think I got something to say. Me and Martina Cole, she's from that background. She's from a background of violent crime. You know, most of that stuff she didn't make up. It's fiction, but she had it. She lived it. But her voice is like that. Chrissy, oi Chrissy, why are you over there? Get me a large vodka and no, just large vodka, thank you. She talks like that. Wake up. So when you've got someone who talks like that, hello there, alright there Chrissy. Imagine her doing an impression of Rod Stewart, who sings like that. Wake up, Maggie. So it's kind of like gravelly goiter squared. She wrote that book that the films, I think she did, might have got it round my neck. Anyway, the review for that, rather like the Jim Carrey one, the review for that said something like, Tom Hardy does an absolutely mesmerising portrayal of the homeless Stuart. And I thought, how do you know? I wonder how many homeless people she spent time with. It just fits her. I don't even know. I can't even work out why they say stuff like that. And also, unless all homeless people are the same, it's hard to say what she's basing that on. Even if she read the novel. A novel is about the gaps. A novel is about what isn't written. What the reader has to fill in out of their own experiences. You know, I met this one homeless bloke. I used to go and see him to score. A bit of a nightmare because he had 2 dogs and they'd be pitched up on Oxford Street. Now remember, I lived in Soho for decades and I used to ponce around in like $4,000 suits, handmade shoes, you know, full bit. And then suddenly I'd have to score and the dark net was down, like I said, or something like that. Like, shit. You know, I've got to go and see one of the homeless to get me a few bags, which means getting them a few bags, which means seeing a street dealer, some Somalian, some Syrian, some fuck who's going to try and rob us. Then you got the vultures. Imagine that in Soho, they call them the vultures. You're scoring, you see other junkies just sort of darting around in your periphery. And you know full well, once that geezer gives you that gear and it comes out of his mouth, often with a bit of fucking gobstring on it, and he's like, put it in your mouth, man. And you're like, it's warm with his spit. As soon as one of those vultures sees that, they expect they're having some of that. They're going to mug me on the way home. Happened loads of times, and you've got to try and keep to the busy streets. And it's the minute there's only 100 people looking, they just fucking grab you. Give me some of that. Come on, let's go around here. I've got some works, and you're just like, not really. But it's not like you can even fight them because you're fucking withdrawing. They've picked on the lowest of the low. Nah, imagine, nah. Meanwhile, he just grabs me ears and goes, gish, gish, gish. But John, when I went to see him, he was all right. He never ripped me off, nothing. I mean, he liked his regular bag. So I'd give him like 40 quid and go and get 4 brown. And then you can have one. He'd be like, all right. And I'd give him the money. And he'd go, look after the dogs. Okay. So it's like midday Tuesday. No time to put a 3-piece suit on. No time to fucking press that tie and all that. No, I've got my junkie joggers on, my army coat, this hat. Oh, I'm suddenly in my junkie costume. But now I'm sitting down on Oxford Street with a little hat in front of me with some 2p's in it and a couple of cigarettes. I've got 2 dogs either side of me that have nuzzled right into me like I'm their keeper. People now walking past looking at me like I'm homeless. And I'd be like proper keeping my head down. I lived there for fucking years. I know people all the time. I see people and I'm just thinking no, I don't want anyone from local NA seeing me. You all right, Chris? Yep. Yeah. Just busy. I'm busy. Though, just shocking. And he could be gone an hour. They fuck you around up there. And I said to him once, I went, John, why are you still doing this? How did you end up here? He went, well, I had a pretty good job actually, and I had like the wife and that, and a nice house. He went, but you know, lost the job, started drinking, killed the dog, and then the wife left me, and here I am. And I'm thinking, did I hear that right? And I was like, did you say you killed your dog? He went, that and the drinking. He couldn't see it as anything sort of, it had nothing about itself to stand out from the crowd. It was just part of a chain of events. And I said, and now you're a homeless heroin and crack addict. And he was just like, yeah. You got any snout? And there was this girl. She was been around Soho for decades. And she's fucking weird. She looks like a skeleton, and she wears this massive coat. But every time she answers, it's only when she answers, not when she's talking. So she'll be with you. You've already given her your money. She go, you want 3 brown and 2 white, yeah? And I go, yeah. That's the deal, isn't it? And she'll go, yeah, that's the deal. Baba 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 baba. Oh, what? And she does it every time. This is for years. I think her name might be Jill or Gemma or something. I'm like, oi, Gemma, can you score for me? She'll be like, yeah, what do you want? Baba 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 baba. Like I said, David Thewlis in Naked, probably the best performance of. There's another homeless bloke in it that I'm actually thinking about, but Thewlis might just as well be. Watch that movie Naked, you'll love it. Or amazing movie. The Homeless of London. They get such the utter piss taken out of them. Horrible life. And that's my video about the homeless problem.